You read the title of the video. Can the BYU Cougars make the college football playoffs? That's a bold question. Nobody was having this conversation before the season. I don't even think most Cougar fans would. That's crazy, right? That's crazy. But now sitting at 5-0 with a big win over SMU, looks pretty good now in their week 1, it was really week 2. Especially containing their offense to only 15 points is massive now. And big wins against Kansas State, of course, all right, who was ranked number 13 at the time, currently ranked number 19. And it wasn't even really that close. It was in Provo. BYU put on a show in front of their home fans. And then, of course, the road win against Baylor 2 weeks ago. Next week, or this Saturday, they've got the upcoming matchup with big noon football in attendance against the Arizona Wildcats, who handed the Cougars' biggest rival, the Utah Utes, a loss at Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City, this time in Provo, Utah. Can the Cougars get it done against Arizona? It's going to be a tough matchup. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, though, and I do expect the Cougars to win this one. All right? The best chance that that BYU has of making the college football playoffs is obviously just winning the Big 12, right? Just winning, or we're saying it like it's easy, okay? I do think the Big 12 is the weakest of the Power 4 conferences this year. All right? I'll say it. It's still very, very difficult, especially for BYU to come out of absolutely nowhere and play as well as they've been playing and then still take the conference by storm. And they've looked really good so far, but there's still a lot of tough road to go. All right? Again, of course, they had the win against Kansas State at home, but they haven't even played the toughest game of their regular season yet. And that is what I assume will be against the University of Utah, their biggest rivalry in Salt Lake City. Okay, so on the road at number, Utah's like 15 right now, 16. Cam Rising should be back and healthy. Should be. You never know with Cam. But that's going to be the toughest game they have in the regular season. And then we'll say that they match up with Iowa State. If they run the table, they match up with Iowa State or even Texas Tech right now, who's currently number 1 with 3 wins in the Big 12 compared to BYU, and Iowa State's only 2 wins in conference play so far. But we'll say it's Iowa State, who is ranked a little bit higher than BYU, right? They're like 9, 10. No, they're 11. BYU's 13. I don't know. I don't remember off the top of the dome. But you get what I'm saying. Iowa State is going to be a tough matchup for the Cougars in Big 12 championship play. So let's hypothetically, they run the table, they go up against Iowa State, they win, and they're in. Obvious. Do they win? Do they get into the 12-team college football playoff, the first ever 12-team college football playoff, if they have the single loss to Iowa State? It's going to be tough. It is going to be very, very tough. I mean, if you already look at it, we've got so many teams that already have a loss ahead of BYU in the current rankings, let alone if BYU had a loss. So BYU is currently sitting at 14. My mistake. I'm sorry, Cougar fans. 14. Iowa State's sitting at 11, or tied at 11 with Notre Dame. They're better than Notre Dame. Come on now. But whatever. That's besides the point. Okay, so BYU 14. They got LSU, who has 1 loss. They have Notre Dame, who has 1 loss. They have Clemson, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Bama with their loss to Vanderbilt, Georgia. All right, that's 7 teams already ahead of them. That's not including teams like Texas, Ohio State, Oregon, who are undefeated right now. Miami, Miami. We've talked plenty about Miami. But if they fall to Iowa State, I don't think we're going to get 2 Big 12 teams in. I really, really don't. I think it is what it is. I think we're going to get, let's see. Okay, so we're going to get the 4 conference champs for sure. All right, given. We'll say in this scenario, Iowa State wins that ball game. So Iowa State represents the Big 12. We'll say Ohio State represents the Big 10. Texas is the SEC. And Miami is the ACC. All right, let's just go with that as is right now. Then we have the non-Power 5, non-Power 4 at large, right? So obviously BYU's not getting that one. And then, which was honestly probably Boise State right now, right? Then we have all the other, so that's 5 slots. We have 7 slots left. I assume that would go to your Bamas, your Georgias, your Oregons, if we're saying that Ohio State wins the Big Ten, your Penn States right now, your, did I say Tennessee? Okay, probably your Clemson's, probably your Ole Miss's. I don't know. I think we're going to see a lot of SEC and Big Ten teams in the playoffs just because it's a tougher schedule. It's a tougher conference, and with recency bias is just such a huge thing in college football. If you look at it last year, Ohio State lost one game last year and didn't get in the playoffs. Georgia lost the SEC championship, and that is it last year, and didn't get in the college football playoffs. Okay, if you lose in week 1, it's a lot less harmful to you than losing in the SEC, your conference championship. Okay? And it sucks. I hate that college football is that way because obviously just making it to the conference championship is amazing, let alone, probably putting up a good dogfight in it. So, if BYU loses to Iowa State, I would say they probably don't. I would say they probably do not win, do not make the college football playoffs. But now we have that question, can they beat Iowa State? Can they beat Iowa State? Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, we're just disregarding the fact that they still have to play Arizona, Oklahoma State, Utah. Those are probably the big 3. UCF is a decent school, of course, but those are the big 3 games that I'd be worried. But Cougars, I live in Utah, so I know all about the Cougars. They love dropping games they shouldn't every year, it seems like. So, they're never out of the dark, right? We just watched number 1 Alabama lose to Vanderbilt. So that's the ultimate game that you should not lose, especially coming up off a huge win against Georgia just the week before. Anyways, that's another story for a different day. I'm saying that BYU runs the table in the regular season. You match up with Iowa State. Iowa State has a really, 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 really good defense. BYU has a really, really, really good defense. Both offenses kind of scare me. But if I'm being completely honest with you, the offense of the Cougars scares me a lot more than the offense of the Cyclones. And let me tell you why. All right, the Cyclones are more methodical, run the football, do their thing, right? BYU is a lot more hit or miss, okay? When BYU won their big game against Kansas State, they had that special teams touchdown, the punt return that went for 6. Okay, that's huge, big momentum play, shift everything to BYU side at that point, right? Against Baylor, their defense caused turnovers for giving offense easier possessions. Now, I'm not saying BYU's offense isn't good at all, don't get me wrong, or Iowa State's for that matter. They're both solid offenses, but are they offenses that I thoroughly trust in? No, definitely not. Definitely not. But it's a lot better than a lot of other, no. If we just look at the average points allowed, it's 79 for the Cougars, and it's 50 for the Iowa State defense, both defenses respectfully. And then on offense, points scored, all right, is 165 this season for BYU compared to 156 for Iowa State. Again, I like the special teams better for BYU, but I like the defense and I like the offense slightly better for Iowa State. But again, football games aren't won on paper. Football games are not won on paper. We know that. We always know that. Obviously, if you stack these two teams up against each other on paper, Iowa State's winning this ball game 10 out of 10 times. But we play on turf. We play on grass. All right? You never know what's going to happen. It's going to be whoever's hungry or whoever looks more sharp that day. Okay? Whichever way the football bounces. Okay? Especially when it comes to special teams, crazy things happen. Who knows, right? I would take my money on Iowa State if I was a betting man. But I would never count out the BYU Cougars. Okay? It's just so tough. Yeah, it's so hard just to even say that they run the table. That's what's so fun about this Cougar team to watch, is that every game is going to be a dogfight or a catfight. It's going to be a cat fight. It's going to be a dog fight. We're going to get into it. I don't think I see a game on BYU's remaining schedule where I'm like, yeah, I'm not even going to watch that game. BYU is easily going to win. Right? Arizona this week. Oklahoma State next week. In Oklahoma. Right? UCF. Or no, that's in Provo. Sorry, Oklahoma State's in Provo. UCF on the road. Utah on the road. Kansas at home. Arizona State on the road. And Houston. Those are all games where like, okay. Like I said before, Cougars, the BYU Cougars drop games they shouldn't almost every single year. Do I hope that happens for them? Absolutely not. But it just seems to be the case. And now in Big 12 team, each game is a little bit more pressure. All right, they used to be independent. They used to not have as stiff a competition every single week. But this time they do. That's the beauty of conference play. Now, dude, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough road, but I would not count the Cougars out. I would not. I can't. I think they could beat Utah on the road. I think they could beat Iowa State in the Big 12 championship. I think they could. Iowa State might not even make it to the Big 12 championship. Could be Texas Tech. Could be Colorado for all we know. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a very tough road. Conference play is better than ever. With this new realigned conferences, BYU, I don't think they would get in with one loss even. I don't think they would. Just because of how dominant the Big Ten and the SEC, mainly the SEC, really is. But they could. They could, especially if it's at Utah, on the road. All right, you lose one game, you still make the Big 12 championship maybe, and you win the Big 12 championship. Okay, BYU will get in. Actually, I'm actually confident. If it's the one loss to Utah, but if it's to Arizona this week at home or literally any other game, I think BYU is out. But losing a rivalry game on the road, you still make the Big 12 championship. You got to win it. One loss maybe to the Utes. Anything else, I don't think the Cougars make it. And of course they run the table, then obviously they're in. But the odds of them running the table, I'd say, are pretty low. I'm gonna put it in my book that they lose to Utah, and it's gonna be close. It's gonna be so tough. I don't know. Half of me, like I work with a bunch of BYU fans. I live around a bunch of BYU fans. I'm not particularly a BYU fan myself, but I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I just don't know if I can. I just don't know. It's tough. They're just such a hit or miss offense. Their defense, I'm sold on. The front lines, the linebackers, honestly, the whole BYU defense is very, very solid. Obviously, it's one of the best in the entire Big 12. It is the second best in the entire Big 12, if you ask me. Though, I think UCF or somebody, maybe it's Cincinnati, I don't know. The Utes. Sorry, forgot about the Utes for a second. The Utes have a very good defense. Iowa State has a very good defense, and BYU. So they're at least a top 3 in the Big 12 defense. I probably put them at 2 right now. The offense is where I'm concerned. Retzloff, the quarterback, is where I have concern. He's younger, less experienced quarterback, makes a lot of mistakes, makes a lot of great plays, but makes a lot of mistakes. And mistakes happen a lot against elite-level defenses, which the Cyclones and the Utes have. And they're going to have to run into both of those teams probably eventually. So, you let me know what you think. Cougar fans, let me know down below. Can the BYU Cougars make the college football playoffs?